Over the next few months, you will be hearing stories about the 100th anniversary of the National Park Service. It was established under the Department of Interior by an act of Congress signed by President Woodrow Wilson on August 25, 1916. But there's a growing movement on the political right to get rid of the government agency by privatizing the national parks. This is a position being championed by the infamous libertarian Koch brothers and the politicians they buy, including presidential candidate and Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who has already introduced a bill in Congress to do just that. While mainstream media pundits and news organizations consider this a non-starter, since the bill has no chance of passing in this Congress, even if it did pass, President Obama would surely veto it. But what if Donald Trump, Jeb Bush, Ted Cruz, or any of the other Republicans now vying for the highest office in the land actually beat Hillary Clinton in next year's general election? There is a distinct possibility the privatization movement could gain steam, and we could lose America's best idea to corporations.
Everybody needs beauty as well as bread, places to play in and pray in. When nature may heal and give strength to body and soul alike. This natural beauty hunger is made manifest in our magnificent national parks. Nature's sublime wonderlands, the admiration and joy of the world. John Muir.
They are a treasure house of nature's superlatives. 84 million acres of the most stunning landscapes anyone has ever seen. They became the last refuge for magnificent species of animals that otherwise would have vanished forever. And they remain a refuge for human beings seeking to replenish their spirit, geographies of memory and hope, where countless American families have forged an intimate connection to their land and then passed it along to their children.
I think that deep in our DNA is this embedded memory of when we were not separated from the rest of the natural world, that we were part of it.
It is the preservation of the scenery, of the forests, and the wilderness game for the people as a whole, instead of leaving the enjoyment thereof to be confined to the very rich. It is noteworthy in its essential democracy, one of the best bits of national achievement which our people have to their credit. And our people should see to it that they are preserved for their children and their children's children forever, with their majestic beauty all unmarred. Theodore Roosevelt.
Henry David Thoreau had called for little oases of wildness in the desert of our civilization.
What emerges in the middle of the 19th century is this idea that going back to wild nature is restorative.
Coness's bill proposed something totally unprecedented in human history, setting aside not a landscaped garden or a city park, but a large tract of natural scenery for the future enjoyment of everyone. More than 60 square miles of federal land, encompassing the Yosemite Valley and the Mariposa Grove of big trees, were to be transferred to the care of the state of California, on the condition that the land never be opened for private ownership, and instead be preserved for public use, resort, and recreation. With the Northern Pacific quietly maneuvering behind the scenes, and with Moran's sketches and Jackson's photographs prominently displayed in the halls of the Capitol, a bill began moving through Congress, and by late January of 1872, it was ready for action in the Senate.
Be it enacted that the tract of land lying near the headwaters of the Yellowstone River...
The Senate overwhelmingly approved the bill. The House passed it, 115 to 65.
...dedicated as a public park.
And on March 1st, 1872, President Ulysses S. Grant signed the bill creating Yellowstone Park. Unlike Yosemite, which was being administered by the state of California, this would be a national park, the first national park in the history of the world. By any standard, the new national park at Yellowstone was huge. More than 2 million acres of remote mountainous terrain, covering the northwestern corner of Wyoming Territory and spilling into Montana and Idaho. Bigger than the states of Delaware and Rhode Island combined. More than 50 times larger than the Yosemite Grant in California. Finally, on October 1st, 1890, President Benjamin Harrison signed into law a bill creating Yosemite National Park, setting aside more than 900,000 acres, nearly 1,500 square miles. Muir was disappointed that the original Yosemite Grant, encompassing the valley floor and the Mariposa Grove, was still left under state control. But this new park was 30 times bigger. And to Muir's delight, included one of his favorite places on Earth, the nearby Hetch Hetchy Valley, which he considered a grand landscape garden, one of nature's rarest and most precious mountain temples. At the same time as the Yosemite bill, 2 more groves of big trees on the western flank of the Sierras had also been preserved as Sequoia and General Grant National Parks.
But there's a point that seems lost in today's mixed-up political debate. Perhaps the American public doesn't realize that the parks are already privatized in a big way. Private concessionaires already control the profitable operations in our national parks, and they are sucking the profits out, all while the National Park Service cannot get another dime out of Congress simply to fund maintenance projects. In fact, a private company with mob ties runs the restaurant, stores, and even gets the proceeds from paid showers and firewood sold in the parks. In Shenandoah, Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon, Delaware North, a company that makes much of its money from gambling, runs the show. This is what you will never learn from the mainstream media in this country. They would like nothing more than to kick the Park Service rangers out and build casinos in some of America's most treasured landscapes. That's why we need your help to fund a trip out west to investigate what's going on in Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon. Thank you.